I transmigrated. My identity, a kidnapper. Before me was the wealthy heiress I'd just snatched. Beside me, my dim-witted partner was giggling at the hostage, debating whether to demand 50 million or 100 million before silencing her. I massaged my throbbing temples, preparing to con him into returning this hot potato. Let me go. No way. The billionaire heiress suddenly sprang up from the floor, snatched the duct tape from my hand, and backhandedly sealed the warehouse's main door shut. She stood with her hands on her hips, pointing aggressively at me and my partner. From now on, you two are kidnapped by me. I was stunned. I pulled out my phone and, with trembling fingers, dialed 911. A gentle female voice came from the other end. Sir, we do not recommend using prank calls to test the police response time. Beep. The call was ruthlessly disconnected. Listening to the busy signal, I felt the whole world spinning. Boss, what did the cops say? My beefy, simple-minded partner, Tank, leaned in, his face full of curiosity. I took a deep breath and shoved the phone back into my pocket. The police said to be professional and not embarrass the industry. Tank puffed out his chest, looking inspired. I knew it. We're meant for big things. I looked at him, feeling my temple throb even harder. My name is Mason Cole. 1 minute ago, I was a corporate drone tweaking a proposal in front of a computer. The next second, I was standing in this moldy, abandoned warehouse in the industrial district, clutching a roll of half-used duct tape. Identity, kidnapper. The heiress tied to the chair in front of us was our meat ticket. Her name was Serena Sterling, the sole heir to the massive Sterling Group empire. The new memories flooding my brain told me this kidnapping was a job pulled by me and this guy named Tank. The plan was simple. Grab the girl, demand the cash, kill the... Wait, no killing. Tank was just excitedly discussing the ransom. Boss, is 50 million too little? It makes us look weak. How about straight up 100 million? 50-50. He even pulled out his phone and opened his Cash App QR code. Maybe I should print this out and stick it on her forehead? Easier for her family to scan. I cover my face. Anyone with an IQ over 70 wouldn't come up with that idea. I had to save myself. I cleared my throat, patted Tank on the shoulder, and lowered my voice. Tank, there are rules in this game. Tank immediately leaned in, face solemn. Boss, tell me. It's our first job. We can't talk numbers with the family right away. It makes us look desperate. We have to release her first to show our sincerity and power. It's called psychological warfare. Tank looked enlightened and slapped his thigh. Boss, you know everything. He immediately turned and walked towards Serena Sterling, ready to untie her. I breathed a sigh of relief. I finally fooled this idiot. However, Serena, whose mouth we had stuffed with a rag, suddenly opened her eyes. There was no fear in them, only a sparkling excitement. As soon as Tank pulled the rag out, she spoke in a crisp voice. Are you guys new? You look pretty amateur. Tank and I froze. Serena tilted her head and began a professional critique of our work. First, this rope is garbage. It's too rough, it chafes, bad user experience. You should use silk. And this tape, the adhesion is terrible. I licked it open in 2 seconds. Most importantly, the location. It's too loud. Is there a highway outside? It's affecting my sleep. My brain buzzed. This script was wrong. I decided to ignore her and get rid of this trouble immediately. I stepped forward, intending to drag her out. Miss Sterling, game over. Time to go home. But Serena bounced up from the chair faster than I could move. She snatched the tape, turned around, and bam, sealed the only iron door from the inside. She yanked it to check the seal, nodding with satisfaction. Then, hands on hips, she pointed a finger at me, then at Tank. From now on, you two are my hostages. The room went dead silent. Tank's mouth hung open, looking at her, then at me. Boss, is this a new strategy? Reverse psychology. I ignored him, pulled out my phone with its dying 5% battery, and dialed 911. That led to the opening scene. Sir, we do not recommend using prank calls to test the police response time. Despair. Cold despair. All right, my two hostages, let's set some ground rules. Serena pulled a pink notebook and a pen with a fluffy pom-pom from her exquisite designer bag. Tank and I, 2 6-foot-tall men, stood there like wooden posts. I felt my worldview being repeatedly crushed. Hostage rule number 1. From today on, you are responsible for my 3 meals a day. Standard. 3 courses and a soup. She tapped her chin with the pen, announcing seriously. Tank's pride suddenly flared up. He stiffened his neck. I'd rather die than be humiliated. We are kidnappers, not chefs. Serena blinked. She didn't get angry. Instead, she whipped out her phone and opened Uber Eats. Ordering out is fine too. I love seafood. Give me 5 pounds of king crab legs and 5 pounds of jumbo shrimp, Cajun style. She shoved the phone in my face. I looked at the total, $8.50, 00 on the deluxe order, and my hand started shaking. I rummaged through my pockets and found only a wad of crumpled bills, about $1,000, probably the getaway gas money. Boss. Tank looked at me pitifully. I closed my eyes and handed over the cash. My heart was bleeding. 30 minutes later, the delivery driver was shouting outside the warehouse. Who ordered the deluxe seafood feast? Under Serena's go-get-it glare, I scurried to the door and dragged the bags in through the gap. The warehouse filled with a bizarrely delicious aroma. Tank and I squatted in the corner, gnawing on stale bread from before the transmigration, watching Serena sit on the chair, wearing gloves, devouring the food. She even politely offered, "You guys sure you don't want some? It's really good." I ignored her, my brain racing for an escape plan. Hostage rule #2. Sated, Serena clapped her hands, demanding our attention again. "Play video games with me." She reached into her bag, which looked small but functioned like Mary Poppins' carpet bag, and pulled out 2 of the latest handheld gaming consoles. Tank's eyes practically popped out. "Whoa, the limited edition Steam Deck. Scalpers are selling these for $2,000, and you still can't find them." The next second, he spinelessly scooted over. I'll play. Thus, the scene in the warehouse became even weirder. Serena, legs crossed, decimated Tank with god-tier skills, making him howl. "Sister Serena, don't kill me." Dead again." "Sister Serena, that skin is beautiful. How'd you get it?" "Sister Serena, carry me." I watched my teammate, calling her sister sweeter than his own family, and felt utterly isolated. I tried to turn Tank back. "Tank, wake up. We are kidnappers. Where is our dignity?" Tank didn't even look up, fingers flying across the console. "Boss, I think this hostage is great. Free food, free games, beats hauling bricks at the construction site." I gave up. He had been turned. I had to rely on myself. While they were heatedly gaming, I snuck to the corner of the warehouse. I remembered there was an old drainage pipe here. I found a piece of rebar and started digging frantically. I was going to escape this hellhole. Sweating profusely, finally, with a splurt, I broke through. But instead of the air of freedom, a jet of rusty tap water sprayed out. The flow increased, instantly flooding my feet. I was dumbfounded. I hit a water main. Murky water quickly flooded half the warehouse. Serena and Tank stood on high shelving, looking down at me, soaking in the water. Serena, wearing slides, stood in the water. Instead of being angry, she took out her phone, snapped photos of my pathetic state, and even used the flash. She giggled while recording. "It's okay. Don't be scared, you won't drown." She comforted me. "My security team will be here in 5 minutes. They're bringing industrial pumps." Soaking in the freezing water, listening to her, my heart sank. Security team? Pumps? Wasn't she a kidnapped, fragile heiress? She seemed prepared for everything. 5 minutes to the second. The sound of synchronized footsteps and engines cutting off came from outside. I soaked in the water, watching Serena calmly walk to the door and whisper to the people outside. "Miss Sterling, do you need us to come in?" "No, just pass through the pumps and dry clothes. And bring 3 dinners. I want sushi tonight." Soon, several high-power pumps were passed through the crack, along with 3 giant thermal food containers and 3 sets of clean clothes. Tank and I got a set too. I changed into dry clothes, holding a steaming bowl of unagi don, lost in thought. Who the hell kidnapped whom here? The water was pumped out quickly, and the warehouse returned to calm, though the floor remained damp. Tank had completely defected, eating premium sushi and continuing to squat up with Serena in video games. I sat in the corner, pretending to rest, but actually observing Serena. She wasn't just doing this for kicks. There had to be a motive behind this bizarre behavior. Just then, the iron door was banged on, thud, thud, thud. This knock was different from the security team earlier. It was short, forceful, and probing. Serena, who was gaming, changed her expression for the first time. She made a shush gesture at me, then hunched over and crept silently to my side. A faint scent of perfume drifted into my nose. "My brother's people," she whispered in my ear. Her warm breath tickled. "Play along. If we screw this up, we're all dead." A chill ran down my spine. I understood instantly. Corporate family feuds. I was caught in the crossfire. "Who's outside?" I asked. "My brother's assistant, here to check the situation." The knocking continued, sounding impatient. "Is anyone inside?" "We're the water delivery service." A sharp male voice called out. "Water delivery?" That excuse was pathetic. I immediately had an idea. I nodded at Serena, then kicked Tank, who was still gaming. "Stop playing, get to work." I signaled him to lower his voice. Tank looked confused but complied. He cleared his throat and roared in what he thought was a terrifying tone. "Who is it? We have plenty of water. Knock again, and I'll kill the girl." He tried too hard and choked on his own saliva, followed by an earth-shattering coughing fit. Cough, cough, cough. Boss choked. Cough. Choked. I facepalmed. Relying on him was like expecting a pig to climb a tree. I had to do it myself. I walked to the door, mimicking a gangster tone from movies, deliberately rasping my voice. "Get lost. The boss is in a bad mood. Keep annoying us, and we'll kidnap you too." Silence outside for a few seconds. The suited man's voice returned, much more polite this time. "Big brother, don't misunderstand. Our boss is worried. He wants to hear Miss Sterling's voice to confirm she's safe." Here comes the climax. This was the critical moment to verify our identity as kidnappers. I looked back, winked at Serena, and then, catching her off guard, pinched her arm hard. Ow! Serena's reaction was 100 times faster than I imagined. She instantly went into character, letting out a pig-slaughtering scream loud enough to lift the roof. But she wasn't done. She started ad-libbing, her voice full of tears, terror, and despair. "Don't kill me. Please don't kill me. My dad is Richard Sterling. He has money. He'll give you whatever you want. I don't want to die, boo-hoo-hoo." I froze. Wait, wasn't her dad Richard Sterling? That part was actually true. But the performance was so over the top, it was hard to watch. However, the suit outside seemed convinced by the realistic misery. He hurriedly said, "Sorry to disturb you," followed by the sound of retreating footsteps. Crisis averted. My legs went soft, and I collapsed on the ground, back soaked in cold sweat. Serena instantly dropped the crying act, leaning into my face with a look asking for praise, eyes sparkling. "How was that? Good acting, right? The Oscars owe me a statue." Looking at her, I realized for the first time that this crazy beauty might be smarter and scarier than I thought. She wasn't just having fun. She was using us to play a massive game of chess. And we were the pawns on the board, with no control over our fate. "Why did your brother plan to kidnap you?" It was late. A dim light bulb lit the warehouse. Tank had fallen asleep, hugging his game console, snoring lightly. I looked at Serena, sitting opposite me, and asked the question burning in my mind. Serena put away her playful demeanor, her face showing a fatigue that didn't match her age. "My brother, Sebastian Sterling. My half-brother," she spoke slowly. "He always felt everything in the Sterling family should be his, and I was just the bastard child stealing his inheritance. He orchestrated this kidnapping. The goal wasn't money. It was to ruin my reputation, make my dad and the board think I was mentally unstable and unfit for duty, so I'd lose my inheritance rights." She pulled out her phone and played a video. In it, several shady characters were tailing a red sports car. "The original kidnappers got intercepted by you two." She looked up at me. "Come to think of it, I should thank you." I couldn't smile. "Thank us? For dragging us into this mess." "So, you knew from the start?" "More or less," Serena admitted. "I was sick of acting with them every day, so I decided to play along, use this chance to get some fresh air, and see if I could find an interesting ally." Her gaze landed on me, probing. I realized she was testing me. "Let's collaborate," she formally proposed. "You help me act out this kidnapping, take down my brother, and I'll guarantee your safety. When it's done, I'll give you enough money to live comfortably for the rest of your life." I looked at her, weighing the pros and cons. The moment I got involved, I had no choice. Since Sebastian planned the kidnapping, he wouldn't let a witness like me go. My only way out was to tie myself to Serena's boat. "What do I need to do?" I asked. Serena's eyes turned serious, sharp. "My brother isn't stupid. He's suspicious. He sent the assistant today, but next time, it won't be a probe. It'll be a hit squad." She paused, enunciating every word. "We need to become more professional." My gaze drifted to Tank, sleeping like a log in the corner. The only muscle, the only variable, and the only hope of this kidnapping crew. I took a deep breath and made my decision. "Okay, I'm in." The next morning, I shook Tank awake. "Tank, starting today, we are undergoing professional kidnapper vocational training." Tank rubbed his eyes, confused. "Boss, aren't we already professional?" Sister Serena praised us. I ignored him and pulled out an old notebook I found, starting his lesson. Lesson 1. Slang. No more calling me boss like a construction foreman. It's cap or chief. Money is lettuce or cheddar. I taught him lines from movies. Tank took notes seriously, muttering, "Say hello to my little friend." I'm walking here. I felt my blood pressure rising. Lesson 2. Aura. What's the most important thing for a kidnapper? Fierceness. You have to make people fear you at a glance. I made him practice in front of a broken mirror. Tank tried to bare his teeth and look mean. But seeing his own ridiculous reflection, he burst out laughing. Then he couldn't stop. Training declared a failure. Serena handled logistics, procuring a bag of professional props from somewhere. Fake tattoo sleeves, gold chains thicker than my finger, aviator sunglasses, and black t-shirts with skulls. We decked Tank out. Left arm dragon, right arm tiger, a dog-leash-sized gold chain around his neck, and sunglasses hiding his eyes. The three of us looked at the tacky gangster in the mirror and fell into deep contemplation. I cover my face, seeing a dark future. We were going to fight a scheming corporate heir with this? We were basically delivering ourselves on a platter. Professional training was useless, but the crisis wouldn't wait. Late that night, a torrential downpour started outside, thunder rolling. I slept uneasily. Suddenly, a string of soda cans I'd rigged at the door clattered clink. The sound was faint, almost drowned by the rain and thunder. But I woke up instantly. Someone was here. I kicked Tank awake and signaled Serena. She understood immediately and silently hid behind some large crates. Tank woke up groggy. "Boss, what's up?" "Earthquake." I covered his mouth and pointed at the door. The lock was picked from the outside. With a soft click, the door cracked open. Two tall men in black raincoats sneaked in. In their hands, knives glinted coldly. Real weapons this time. My heart pounded. I pulled Tank behind a pile of old tires. Tank saw the men and went pale, teeth chattering. I forced myself to be calm. "No running now, we had to fight." I whispered to Tank, "Stick to the rehearsal." Tank took a deep breath and nodded. He summoned all his courage, sprang up from behind the tires, and roared at the two men with all his might. "Who is it?" But because of the tension, his voice cracked, turning into a high-pitched squeak. The two men in black paused. One of them sized up Tank's budget thug outfit and lowered his voice. "Colleagues, this is Sebastian Sterling's job. Professional courtesy. We take the girl. You split the cash." "Do eat do." I had an idea. I signaled Tank. "Initiate Plan B." I kicked the shelf next to me, which I had loosened earlier. On top sat a large bag of flour I'd placed there. Crash. The shelf collapsed. The flour bag exploded, filling the warehouse with white powder, choking everyone. Cough. What the hell? The two intruders were confused by the sudden chaos. Right then, Serena acted from the shadows. She switched on all the high-beam tactical flashlights we'd prepared, waving them frantically through the white haze. The intense beams refracted through the dust, turning the warehouse into a giant strobe-lit disco, instantly blinding everyone. My eyes. The two professional hitmen completely lost their bearings in the face of these illogical madman tactics. My chance. I charged out from behind the tires, wielding my prepared weapon, a mop soaked in dirty water. While one hitman was rubbing his eyes, I leaped up from behind and smashed the mop handle onto the back of his head with all my strength. Thud! With a dull sound, he crumpled. The other hitman turned in panic at the sound. He was met by Tank's fist, the size of a casserole dish. Tank might be dumb, but his strength was real. That punch sent the guy stumbling back, seeing stars. I rushed in, swept his legs, and tripped him. Tank and I swarmed him, pinning him to the ground. Minutes later, the two real kidnappers were trussed up like turkeys with their own rope. Looking at the intruders on the floor, the warehouse was a mess. Tank panted, looking at me with worship in his eyes. "Boss." "No, Chief. You are the professional. What is this move? Sun Tzu? Art of War?" I wiped the sweat and flour off my face. "It's called Home Alone." Serena walked out from behind the crates, her face covered in flour and soot like a little calico cat. But her eyes were brighter than ever. She looked at me, saying nothing, but the light in her eyes was hotter than the tactical flashlights. "No, too dangerous." I flatly rejected Serena's proposal. She wanted to go on the offensive, straight to the Sterling Group board meeting. Crazy. This woman was absolutely crazy. Sebastian definitely thinks his men took care of us. He's calling an emergency board meeting right now to claim I'm mentally unstable due to trauma, so he can seize power. Serena analyzed calmly, toying with a listening device she found on the hitman. Now is the best time to catch him off guard. She looked at me, a hint of madness in her eyes. The most dangerous place is the safest place. I looked at her, then at Tank, who was figuring out how to tie knots tighter, and the two real kidnappers on the floor. I realized I was too far down this rabbit hole to turn back. What's the plan? 30 minutes later, downstairs at the gilded Sterling Group skyscraper, the three of us had transformed. Serena was now a gold-rimmed, glasses-wearing, sharp overseas lawyer in a designer skirt suit. I was her serious assistant carrying a briefcase. And Tank, he was wearing dirty overalls, 2 streaks of soot on his face, holding a hard hat, a perfect construction foreman straight from the site. We walked into the Sterling Group lobby in this bizarre formation. The receptionist tried to stop us, but Serena threw a purely English business card at her and spoke in a fluent London accent about cross-border mergers. The receptionist was bluffing into silence, watching us enter the elevator. Top floor boardroom. The atmosphere was solemn. Sebastian sat at the head, heartbreakingly recounting his sister's tragedy, claiming he had to step up for the sake of the group. The directors whispered, seemingly convinced. Just then, the boardroom doors were kicked open with a bang. Everyone looked over. Tank charged in first, then Thump sat right on the polished marble floor and started wailing. There is no justice. Sterling Group owes us migrant workers our blood and sweat money. He slapped the floor while crying real tears, half acting, half probably remembering his own sad history on construction sites. The boardroom was stunned. Sebastian's face turned liver red. Security! Security! Throw this lunatic out, he roared. Just then, Serena walked in slowly in her high heels. Sir, please calm down. She adjusted her glasses, walking to Tank, striking a pose of defending the weak. I am this foreman's attorney. I represent him and hundreds of workers to formally sue Sterling Group. She pulled a stack of English legal documents, which I couldn't read, from my briefcase and slammed them on the table. Please explain, Mr. Vice President, why $50 million meant for construction wages appeared in your personal offshore account. Sebastian's face went white. I quietly pulled out my phone and played a pre-prepared sound clip. Dramatic, patriotic union protest, music blared through the room. The scene turned into absolute chaos. The shareholders buzzed, looking at Sebastian differently. His carefully planned power grab was turned into a pot of porridge by our absurd, farcical intervention. I saw Sebastian shaking with rage, pointing at us, unable to speak. I retreated behind Serena in the confusion. My heart raced, nervous but secretly thrilled the plan worked. In this world, maybe the crazy ones do survive better. Mason, come here. After successfully retreating from the Sterling building, we hid in another of Serena's secret properties, a luxury penthouse in the city center. Tank, seeing a house this big for the first time, ran around the living room in excitement. I sat on the sofa, reliving the thrill, heart still pounding. Serena had changed into loose loungewear, sitting on the carpet. She had twisted her ankle, escaping the security guards. Her ankle was slightly swollen. I sighed, went into a room, and instinctively found a bottle of Tiger Balm in the first aid kit. I walked back, squatted down. Bear with it. I poured some oil on my palm, warmed it up, and gently pressed it on her ankle. Serena hissed, tensing up. My movements were clumsy, but I tried my best to massage it. Tank, tired of running, came over to watch. Chief, you never treated me this nice. I ignored him. Serena fell silent. She lowered her head. I couldn't see her expression, only her serious profile and trembling eyelashes. The air smelled of herbal balm and her faint perfume. The atmosphere was subtle. After a while, she suddenly spoke. Mason, yeah. When this is over, come be my bodyguard. A lifetime contract. My hand slipped, almost spilling the oil. I looked up, meeting her eyes. Those eyes, usually full of mockery and madness, held a seriousness I couldn't read. I panicked and looked away. I just want to go home. My home is your home, she said matter-of-factly. That curveball caught me off guard. I stood up abruptly, dropped the clumsy, rub it yourself, and fled to the balcony. I leaned on the railing, letting the night wind cool my messy thoughts. Bodyguard? Lifetime? Is she joking? Once Sebastian is down and I get the money, I'm disappearing to a place where no one knows me. Late that night, I slept in the guest room, but tossed and turned. I got up and ghost-walked to Serena's door. It wasn't fully closed. I saw her lying in bed, sleeping restlessly, brows furrowed, body trembling slightly, as if having a nightmare. I hesitated, then gently pushed the door open and walked in. I picked up a blanket and carefully covered her. Just as I turned to leave, the person on the bed moved. I jumped, thinking she woke up, but she just rolled over, hugging the quilt tighter, and mumbled something unconsciously. I leaned down to hear. She said, "Don't go." I stood by the bed, looking at her sleeping face, and something inside me went soft. What I didn't know was that after I turned and closed the door, the sleeping person on the bed slowly opened her eyes. In the darkness, the corners of her mouth curled up. Head-on confrontation isn't the way. Sebastian took a hit, so he'll be more guarded next time. The next day, I analyzed the situation on a tactical whiteboard, which Serena had delivered overnight in the living room. We need direct evidence of his crimes. A fatal blow. Serena leaned on the sofa, icing her foot, nodding. I found out Sebastian's most trusted man is the CFO, Mr. Miller. All the fake accounts and embezzled funds go through him. But he's extremely cautious. No leaks. If the man has no leaks, maybe his family does. I circled a spot on the whiteboard. Does Miller have family? Serena typed on her tablet. Found him. Miller is married, one son, 20 years old, college student. Only hobby is video games. He's an internet addict and spends money like water. My eyes lit up. A brilliant, yet utterly ridiculous plan formed in my mind. I looked at Tank, who was wearing headphones, immersed in his game. Opportunity knocks. I walked over and patted his shoulder. Tank, I have a glorious and arduous mission for you. Tank took off his headphones, excited. Chief, are we smashing another place? I'm ready. I shook my head, pointing at his console. No, the mission is to play games with a guy and become his best bro. 30 minutes later, using a new account Serena registered, Tank successfully friended CFO Miller's son. Over the next few days, Tank displayed amazing gaming talent. Coupled with Serena inhumanely whaling cash to buy him the best gear, Tank quickly became a godlike existence to the gamer kid, Tommy Miller, gamertag, Tommy Gun. They called each other brothers in-game, intimacy skyrocketing. The time was ripe. I pulled Tank aside and gave him the script. That night, after carrying Tommy to win a key team battle, Tank started casually bragging. Tommy, this is nothing. Let me tell you, my boss is the real deal. Your boss? The guy funding you. Funding? PSH. My boss is a top-tier hacker. Penthouse invading level. Tank bragged without blushing. Tommy obviously didn't believe it. Tank continued with my script. Don't believe me? The game you're playing? My boss is one of the devs. He can give you whatever gear he wants. To add credibility, Serena had bribed a programmer at the game company. The next second, a server-unique, out-of-print artifact appeared in Tommy's inventory. Tommy was stunned. He now fully believed in this mysterious hacker boss. Tank bro, your boss is a god. Can you do me a small favor? The fish took the bait. What favor? My dad's stupid computer has so many passwords, I can't play games on it. Can your boss crack it? I want to install a game. Tank immediately showed me the chat log. I looked at the text on the screen and smiled. Tell him to send his dad's login password and some secrets he knows is a sign of sincerity. Say it's your boss's rule. He doesn't work for free. Soon, Tommy sent over his dad's login password, passwords for several apps, and even the safe combination he overheard. He added, Tank bro, my dad has a lot of company secrets on there. Tell your boss not to mess with them. Serena leaned over, reading the chat, dumbfounded. That worked. I leaned back on the sofa, feeling in control. To deal with smart people, sometimes you have to use magic. Relying on this ridiculously absurd method, Serena remotely contacted her tech contact. Using the passwords Tommy provided, they easily accessed the CFO's computer and copied all evidence of Sebastian embezzling public funds, cooking books, and framing competitors. Ironclad evidence. Time to close the net. Sterling Group annual shareholders meeting. This was the most important meeting of the year. Sebastian stood on stage, spirited. After the construction worker incident, he spent a fortune to suppress the news. He thought his sister Serena was out of tricks. Today, he would use his majority stake and a diagnosis from an authoritative psychiatrist to strip Serena of her inheritance and officially take over. Shareholders, directors, you've heard about my sister Serena's condition. Her kidnapping caused immense mental trauma. She is no longer fit. Before he finished, the giant LED screen behind him flickered. The corporate promo video vanished, replaced by a clip. The background was our familiar abandoned warehouse. In the video, Serena, face tear-stained, eyes hollow, cried to the camera about her misery. I don't know who kidnapped me. They are so scary. They said a man named Sterling hired them. If I give up my inheritance, they'll let me go. The hall went into an uproar. Sebastian's face turned iron blue. Nonsense. This is a fake. Security, turn it off. But the tech crew seemed deaf. The screen switched. Tank and I, the kidnappers, appeared. I wore a mask, voice modulated to sound raspy and cold. We do the job we're paid for. Miss Sterling, blame your good brother. Tank beside me accidentally added, yeah, the guy named Sebastian. He gave us lots of cash. Boom. The crowd exploded. Fake. It's all fake. Sebastian screamed hysterically. This is slander. I'm calling the police. Here comes the climax. No need to call the police. We're already here. A cool, powerful female voice rang out. The doors slowly opened. Serena herself, wearing a sharp white suit and heels, walked in surrounded by black-clad bodyguards and a legal team. There was no trace of the fragility from the video, only a queen-like aura. Brother, long time no see. Did you like my kidnapping drill? She walked up to Sebastian, smiling. As she spoke, the side doors opened. The two hitmen we knocked out earlier were marched in by police. The dejected CFO, Mr. Miller, followed with his head down. They had turned state's witness. On the big screen, a PPT began playing, clearly showing Sebastian's bank transfers, the fake accounting files, and recordings of his deal with the hitman. The chain of evidence was complete. Sebastian looked at the screen, blood draining from his face until it was ash gray. He collapsed into his chair, mumbling, "Impossible. Impossible." Two officers stepped forward with cold handcuffs. "Mr. Sebastian Sterling, you are suspected of multiple commercial crimes and conspiracy to commit harm. Please come with us." Dust settled. Everyone's eyes instinctively focused on me. The ruthless kidnapper from the video, now standing behind Serena in casual clothes, the hero behind the scenes. I scratched my head awkwardly, wishing for a hole to crawl into. This massive public shaming was worse than the kidnapping. "So, you're saying you called the police claiming you were kidnapped because the hostage you kidnapped you?" Inside the downtown precinct, a young female officer looked at me like I was an alien. I noticed her badge, Dispatcher Davis. The same gentle voice that hung up on me. I nodded, expression incredibly sincere. "Yes, officer. Everything I said is true. I came to turn myself in, or rather, was escorted by Serena to turn myself in. She said things need closure." Next to Officer Davis, an older cop sipped tea, looking at Serena, who was giving a statement as the victim. Serena winked at me, then flashed a sweet, harmless smile at the police. "Officers, you misunderstood. He's not a kidnapper. He's a security consultant I hired. We were conducting a highly realistic, immersive anti-fraud security drill." My mouth formed an O. "Drill? That works?" Tank nodded furiously beside me, acting as a witness. "Right, it was a drill. I played villain number 2, boss was villain number 1, and Sister Serena was the hero." The old cop's expression was as confused as the contents of his thermos. He looked at the document Serena's legal team just submitted. Agreement on hiring Mason Cole as special security consultant for Sterling Group. Disclaimer for immersive crisis response drill. Procurement list for drill props includes Cajun seafood, game consoles. The paperwork was watertight. The old cop rubbed his temples, feeling his decades-long career challenged. I tried to struggle one last time. "Officer, I really am just an unlucky guy who got involved. Serena interrupted immediately, praising me. "Consultant Cole is too humble. This drill's success in catching the internal corporate leech relied entirely on his professional planning and field command." My explanation, with her addendum, sounded like fishing for compliments. In the end, this bizarre kidnapping case was closed as a Sterling Group internal dispute, resolved privately. Tank and I, as meritorious personnel, were released without charge. Walking out of the station, sunlight hitting my face, I felt like I'd woken from an absurd dream. Mr. Cole," a voice called from behind. I turned. It was Dispatcher Davis. She trotted over, cheeks slightly pink, holding out her phone shyly. You tell stories really well. Great logic. Like writing a novel. Can I get your number?" "Me?" I felt the public embarrassment continuing. Serena honored her promise. A check was handed to me. The zeros on it were too many to count. "PIN is 6/8. Take it, go live the life you want." Serena sat in the back of her Rolls Royce, waving at me, her smile holding an emotion I couldn't read. I took the check, didn't say a word, and turned to walk away. Polite but distant. I went to the bank at top speed to verify the check. Then, I bought the earliest ticket to Honolulu, Hawaii. Blue water, clear skies, pleasant climate, and most importantly, nobody knew me. I didn't even pack, just took my ID and the check. I was starting my new life. Airport, bustling with people. With visions of the future, I walked through security. The alarm didn't beep, but the agent stopped me. A smiling young TSA agent gestured for me to stop. "Mr. Mason Cole, correct?" My heart skipped a beat. "Yes, is there a problem?" "It's like this." The agent's smile was professional and standard. "We just received notice. Your flight 8L9527 has been canceled due to weather at the destination." I checked the weather in Honolulu on my phone. Sunny, light breeze. Pushing down my unease, I turned and left the airport, heading straight for the train station. Ticket window, I handed my ID. "One ticket to the coast, as soon as possible." The agent typed, then looked up apologetically. "Sorry, sir. The rail system is experiencing a glitch. We cannot sell tickets right now." I took a deep breath and walked out. I didn't believe in coincidences. I opened my phone and ordered an Uber to the highway exit. 5 minutes later, no driver accepted. I ordered again, adding a huge tip. Finally, a driver accepted, but the next second he called. Hello, Mr. Cole. Sorry, the system just assigned me a long-distance trip to Miss Sterling's house. I can't take yours. Please cancel. Miss Sterling's house. My heart sank bit by bit. I stood on the busy street, feeling powerless. I thought money meant freedom. It turned out from start to finish, I was under her control. Just as I looked despairingly at the traffic, a row of black Rolls Royces silently pulled up in front of me. The door of the middle car slowly opened. Serena sat on the leather seat, wearing an exquisite dress, smiling like a flower. Consultant Cole, drill's over. Aren't you tired? Now, shall we discuss your lifetime contract? I saw Tank in the passenger seat, wearing a sharp suit, looking like a real bodyguard. He stuck his head out, waving excitedly. Chief, get in. Sister Serena said we're family now, and she's given me a raise. I looked down at the flimsy check in my hand, then at the fox-like woman in the car. I felt like I didn't get a payment. I got the key to a bear trap with giant bait, and I was the beast diving headfirst into it. I sighed, resignedly pulled the door open, and got in. Maybe I'll never escape her kidnapping in this lifetime. 1 year later, Sterling Group CEO's office. I sat behind a massive desk in a bespoke suit worth a fortune, reviewing an assessment report on overseas market expansion. Serena lay like a cat on the other end of the desk, chin on her arms, watching me with boredom. Mason, you're so boring. Let's play video games. Busy. Need this report for the afternoon meeting. I didn't look up. I'll postpone the meeting. No, that's the rule. Fine. Serena pouted, took out her phone, and played by herself. I was now the special consultant for Sterling Group, a cushy job with high pay, occasionally handling tricky problems. I was also Serena's fiancé. Life was full of laughable daily events. Tank was now Serena's head of security, managing 20 guys. His daily joy was leading his team on the villa lawn, practicing how to look fierce. But training usually ended with him sitting on the grass watching comedy movies. In his words, absorbing inspiration from art. As for Sebastian, I heard he was behaving well in prison, actively rehabilitating. He wrote me a letter recently, asking in a humble tone about the deep philosophical question of how to make people believe you're telling the truth. I burned the letter. The most ridiculous thing was that a former colleague I hadn't spoken to in ages saw a photo of me and Serena at an event in the financial news. He thought I was actually kidnapped and believed it firmly. He even started an online fundraiser called Save Kidnapped Colleague Mason, reportedly raising a few $1,000s. When Serena found out, she laughed until she cried and anonymously donated $1 million to the account, noting, "Go get him, save the hostage." Today was the Sterling Group's anniversary gala. Serena stood on stage giving a speech as CEO. After the official script, she turned, suddenly holding the microphone to the thousands of employees and guests, announcing loudly, "And here, I want to especially thank one person. He made my life complete." The spotlight swished onto me in the corner, where I was trying to be transparent. I instinctively wanted a facepalm. I heard Serena say proudly, "Thank you all for your support. I finally, successfully kidnapped the love of my life." The hall went deathly silent, then erupted in thunderous applause and good-natured laughter. Standing in the pillar of light, I felt publicly executed once again. Serena lifted her gown, ran down from the stage smiling, cut through the crowd, came to me, and hugged me tight from behind. In my ear, in a voice only we could hear, with a sly smile, she whispered, "This time, don't you dare call the cops." I turned around, looking into her shining eyes, and smiled helplessly. I reached out and pinched her cheek, which still had a hint of baby fat. Understood, my hostage. She stood on tiptoes and kissed me lightly on the lips. Under the spotlight, we smiled at each other. Once, I tried desperately to escape this absurd kidnapping. Now, I willingly trapped myself in this sweet kidnapping called love. A life sentence isn't so bad. Story complete.